Cody, aka DFS Prodigy, coming to you live with Daily Fantasy Talk Show, talking some NFL Week 4. How's it going, my man?
Man, it's been a long time. Glad to get back on a video with you, and I know we're going to get our viewers some money this week.
Agreed. So, starting with quarterbacks, how do you feel about the quarterback position up top?
Yeah, quarterback's an interesting spot this week. I'm personally spending up. I like my guy Mahomes. Mahomes in a really good fast-paced game against the Eagles. Eagles got torn up by Dallas last week. I really like the Chiefs stack this week, as well as I'm liking Jalen Hurts on the other side of that. I think both sides of this game is very viable. You could definitely, run it back, whatever stack you go with, and get a lot of pieces of this game. Aaron Rodgers right now is a projected 1 to 2% ownership. Even though the Steelers defense on paper looks like they're going to be the best defense in the NFL, their secondary is 30th right now in the NFL. I really love a Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams stack this week. There's no MVS, so I wouldn't mind throwing in maybe Robert Tonyan or Alan Lazard in there as well. But this Packers stack is going to be very low owned, and their team total is right around 26 points. So if they get 4 touchdowns, I think that's going to be a really nice low owned stack. Where are you looking at QB, Cody?
Up top, Josh Allen. I'm going right into the well with him after we saw what he did to the Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers team is not the same as it was last season, but Josh Allen against the Texans defense, that does not scare me one bit. Russell Wilson, I like him in play. With DJ Metcalf, I love that. Or DK Metcalf, I love that. Matthew Stafford, possibly, with Cooper Kupp. I know you don't like Cooper Kupp at a ton, but at 7-8, I could see this happening once again. I think Aaron Rodgers, like you said, with possibly Lazard. I like Lazard's price. It's way too cheap. So I wouldn't mind throwing a flyer on possibly Taylor Heineke, but I know a lot of people are on him. But what do you like on the down below position, below 6,000 or so? Do you like anybody down there?
Yeah, I mean, Heineke, I know, has been mentioned a lot this week. He's going against not a great defense. But personally, I do like the guy on the other side there, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's at a really nice price. Could be a very good stack with Calvin Ridley and Zacchaeus, I think his last name, Olamide. I talked about him a lot going into this season. I really liked him as a potential wide receiver too, knowing that Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage aren't the healthiest of receivers. So in season long, I was talking to him up all week, leading into week 1. I think he's certainly in play on DFS this week, but we'll get into wide receivers later. I definitely do think Matt Ryan has the capability to bounce back because people are talking about it. Matt Ryan's washed. Matt Ryan has no arm. Well, let's see how he does against the bad defense like Washington this week.
What's interesting is when you see Matt Ryan's price at 5.4, then you have Zach Wilson at $400 less. Is wild to me. You would never expect that coming into the season. But are you falling for the trap of Justin Fields, or are you hating him once again? Yeah.
No, Justin Fields, his offensive line is so bad. It's like putting 5 me's in front of Justin Fields at this point. Like I watched a video last night and just like even on an RPO, he had a wide open read and he literally couldn't see his wide open slant across the middle because there were like 3 rushers who are untouched. I mean, their offensive line is horrible. Matt Nagy needs to be out of Chicago. Someone help Justin Fields, please. But I'm not playing him until that's done.
Agreed. So looking at running backs, obviously Derrick Henry up top. I think he can hit over 200. I talked about the prop of over 200 yards at plus money. I think it's easy. I think he can do it. What do you think of Derrick Henry?
Yeah, well, I do have a very major pull for Derrick Henry just because he's on my fantasy team. But I will be playing all of Derrick Henry tomorrow in DFS. Now, of course, what that means basically is he's going to stub his toe in the first quarter and just not play for the rest of the game. But if that happens, I'm willing to fall down with like the 40% ownership that he's going to have. I'm playing GPPs, so I'm willing to take that chance on going with a guy who I know is going to get 20 to 25 carries against a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. There's no AJ Brown or Julio Jones to take away looks for him. So I mean, on the outside, we're going to have like Chester Rogers and like Nick Westbrook Inkine, I think his name is. So those are going to be 2 guys that are going to be on the outside. So it's going to be all Derrick Henry all day. And I'm going to be looking for him to get, like you said, that 200-yard mark. Who else are you liking up top at running back, Code?
So I don't mind going back to the well with Najee Harris. I think the targets are just there for him, even though Big Ben has not been the same. He's seen the targets. And at 6'8", I don't mind it. Are you taking a flyer on Saquon Barkley at 6'7", or are you fading him?
I was big on Barkley last week, just because I was waiting for him to have that blow up game, and coming in at lower ownership last week, I really liked the possibility of that being there. He did pretty well. I mean, he got 21 fantasy points, but he got bailed out with, I think it was like the 1 yard touchdown run that Daniel Jones didn't get credit for. So, I think he's a fair play. I think there are other guys that I'm wanting to get to just because I know I'm going to be spending up for Derrick Henry. And I'm going to want to have at least one spend up wide receiver. So being able to have that flexibility will make me spend lower on that RB2 this week.
Agreed. So before the video, we forgot to talk about one guy, one guy I'm actually on pretty heavily, is Zeke at 6'5". Zeke is only 6'5" compared to Alexander Madison and Jonathan Taylor. When I know the Panthers defense is legit, I get it, but no J.C. Horn, and their front line's banged up now after last game. So the possibility is there for Zeke to get it done at 6'5". I like that price tag a ton. Well, I know people are going to be on Alexander Madison. They don't know Dalvin Cook. So I much rather pivot to a Zeke at 6'5" at lower ownership. But looking at DeAndre Swift, I like that at 6'2". I like Antonio Gibson a ton when you can get him compared to Chuba Hubbard, because everybody's going to be on Chuba Hubbard also. I think ownership is going to be way too high when I can get to a David Montgomery at 5'8", even though that Bears line's awful. So, I mean, I get it. The path of victory is there for Chuba Hubbard, but if I can spin up for Antonio Gibson at a better ownership or go down to a David Montgomery, I'd rather do that. Do you like anybody in that range of the 6,000s?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Swift, knowing that we've heard the quote from Dan Campbell already, like DeAndre Swift is about to be unleashed. Now, a lot of times we hear those things and then the complete opposite happens, right? So, it's hard to take coaches' quotes to heart, but DeAndre Swift is a special player. The only thing I'm worried about is he does have a questionable tag with a groin, right? So, knowing that going into a game, a groin, he's a very explosive guy. So if he, tweaks his groin injury, there's a very good chance he sits out and Jamal Williams takes over too. So I know Swift is going to be very popular this week. And knowing that, I think I'm more off of him than I was earlier on in the week just because of the area of this injury. But I'm in agreement there. David Montgomery at this price looks really good at going against a Lions defense that cannot stop the run. I know I just talked about how bad their offensive line was, but pass blocking compared to run blocking is two way different things, right? Their offensive line sucks at pass blocking. Power run, that's a lot easier to do in terms of being an offensive lineman. So I definitely don't mind going to Montgomery there. He's started out very slow, but I'm hoping that keeps his ownership down. I think he can blow up at one point here.
Agreed. I like Chase Edmonds a little bit, but I'd really go to Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 5'4". He's finally getting it done. I'm not falling for the trap of the 49ers offense with running backs, with Mitchell, Hasty, everybody know. It's too banged up, too all over the place. Zach Moss at 5'3", he's now priced over Devin Singletary, which he's very touchdown dependent, like we talked about. But he's getting the targets. And DraftKings, you want those targets. So I can see it at 5'3". Sonny Michel, 5'2", he has not been a shell of himself since the Darrell Henderson injury. Everybody thought he was going to be one of the best running backs in the league when he was on the Patriots. But now, I don't get it. But kind of looking at the 5,000 range, there's not much I want. I'm not falling for Mike Davis when I can get to a Cordell Patterson. Tyson Williams, 5'2", are you looking at him possibly, or are you fading him?
No, Tyson Williams, he's just in way too big of a running back committee at this point. I don't even think he got the bulk of the carries last week, if I remember correctly. I think that was Latavius Murray that got those. So, the Ravens are a run-heavy team, but with being a running back committee and Lamar being able to vulture touchdowns, I'm kind of staying away from that backfield. You talked about CEH. I really like this spot this week for him. Like I said, very high-paced game. He got 21 points last week, which he got the same amount of points as Saquon Barkley and was priced, I think, $1,500 lower. So I really like the upside that he has. He gets pretty much all the touches. I mean, Darrell Williams gets a little bit out of the backfield, but it's the CEH show there in the backfield for KC. So if they get to the 1 yard line, it's going to be CEH getting the ball. And if he gets in one time, that's going to be enough to pay him off at $5,400. And then last guy I'll talk about, Devin Singletary. I know you talked about Zach Moss a little bit. Singletary's still the number one guy. On Twitter, everyone's talking about Zach Moss and how good he was last week. He got the hot hand. And as much as I love, a guy getting the hot hand, that's not going to be sustainable every week. So with Singletary being their number one guy, he's had flashes this year. So I think the Bills are very happy with deploying those two guys, and with Singletary being the cheaper one as the number one guy, I would much rather go to Singletary than Zach Moss this week as a pivot.
Agreed. So going down to the bottom of the barrel, like I said, Cordell Patterson at 4-9. Everybody's going to be on him once again because they know the versatility of him. But let's mention Royce Freeman for a minute. If Chuba Hubbard does not hit, think about it. At 4-7, he got the run last week. He saw the touches. So at 4-7, I don't mind a flyer if you really want to get involved in the GPs. Play 4-7. Royce Freeman taking over Chuba Hubbard, who's not ready for the big leagues. It could happen. I mean, Royce Freeman is a veteran in the game. So I don't mind it. But anybody else you're looking at down here at the 4s?
No, not too much. Like I said, I really like CEH here, and I'll sprinkle in some Singletary as well, but that's probably as low as I'm going to go this week at running back.
I feel you. So going to receivers, Tyreek Hill is up top. I'm not playing him against this Eagles defense. I'm not really looking at it where I can get to a Cooper Kupp or a Devontae Adams like you. I know you love Devontae Adams. Are you playing the Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson roles, or are you fading them overall?
I really want to play Diggs because he's just due for that big game, right? Like we've gotten the Beasley game, we've gotten the Emmanuel Sanders game, we've gotten the Zach Moss game. Where's the Stephon Diggs game? I think it's coming. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm way too big on guys like Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams this week to get to a Stephon Diggs, because even though I'm paying, as we'll talk about later on, I'm paying low on defense. It isn't going to open up enough salary for me here to get to Diggs. So as much as I'd like to, and I will say, if you want to, play him because he's due. I'm just personally not getting there because I'm going for that low Packers stack this week.
Well, his brother's getting it done in Dallas right now. So, I mean, he's killing it right now. I'll tell you that. But Cooper Kupp at 7-8, I love that with Matthew Stafford. If you want to get the Diggs, I like that too. DK Metcalf, like we mentioned before, I like him. Especially if there's no Tyler Lockett, which we need to watch out for that injury because that is his hip, which he's had issues in the past. Calvin Ridley, I like that at 7,000. If you want to go with Matt Ryan, Terry McLaurin at 6'9", when you play Taylor Heineke, the running back option, I like that too. I'm not really on CeeDee Lamb or DJ Moore as much as I like Sam Darnold a little bit, but Brandon Coates is seeing the targets, but I'm not really falling for that trap. Looking at Deontay Johnson with no Claypool possibly, are you on the Steelers receivers or are you fading them overall?
Yeah, I like Deontay a lot this week. I think, Ben goes to him. He's kind of like the meme where it's like F8, he's down there somewhere. Like that's Big Ben to Deontay Johnson at this point with no Claypool, or likely no Claypool, I should say. Najee Harris got a lot of targets last week, right? But that was because there was no Deontay Johnson on the field. And I think, a lot of people that played Najee this week are going to expect to have, that 7 to 8 target game like he had last week. He got like 17 targets last week. But now that Deontay Johnson's back, I think a lot of those targets are going to go back toward him because that's where the offense wants to gear. They want to try to get it downfield to the Claypool, to the Johnson. So I like Deontay Johnson. It's going to be more of an ownership thing for me if I get there. But like I said, I'm kind of going stars and scrubs this week. So I do like Deontay, but not enough for me to get there, I don't think.
Agreed. So looking at OBJ, are you falling for him at 5-8 or no?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I do like it. With obviously no Jarvis Landry, that's kind of Baker's guy at this point. But Baker's been going to a lot of running backs and tight ends this year so far. I mean, OBJ had a great game last week, or a good enough game, I should say. But just the structure that I'm playing this week, I don't know how much OBJ I'm going to get to. I think he is my favorite mid-priced receiver this week, but I'm just not going to get there due to the structure that I'm at.
I hate seeing the price on Allen Robinson, only 5.8. I mean, I love the price tag, but I can't fall for it. I'd much rather go to Cortland Sutton at 5.7 and a great matchup for him. I love Cortland Sutton. I think Kenny Galladay with no Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton's in play, as much as bad as he's been this season. But Cole Beasley at 5.4 If you don't think Diggs is going to get it done, Cole Beasley has. Robert Woods at only 5'3" is a disgrace to that price tag. I like Robert Woods a ton. Do you like anybody in the down low at 5,000?
Yeah, you just talked about Beasley and Woods. Those are two guys that I'm thinking are at a really good price for their floors. Because those are guys that usually rack up receptions. Woods obviously off to a slow start because Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp have just been this insane connection. I don't think it's going to be sustainable throughout the year, which is why I'm not playing as much Kupp this week. I'm just betting on it not happening this week, which could happen, could not. But another guy I'm liking in this range here is going to be Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has run, I think he's top 6 in routes run this year. He's 7th in air yards. I mean, he has the opportunities. The opportunities are there. He just needs to get Carson Wentz to be healthy and find him on the field. I really like his upside. I think he certainly could crush. I think his prize picks projection this week is like 52 receiving yards. I would love that over. I would bet that 10 times over. I think he's got really good potential to put up a 100-yard game this week. So I think Pittman's going to be that guy in the range where he's going to be the lower owned guy, and I think he could win someone maybe $1 million. Who knows?
Agreed. So looking at, I'm not really playing Robbie Anderson. He's fallen off the cliff. I'm not playing Watkins. I know you like Corey Davis. I'll let you talk about him. But Emmanuel Sanders at 4.9, I like that. I love Tim Patrick also at 4.9. I think Tim Patrick's due for a big role once again. So also, before we talk about Corey Davis, what are you going to do with Will Fuller at only 4.8? The price tag is there, and he's back. So
tough. I mean,
for him.
It's tough because I like a couple guys on the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle got, he got 13 receptions last week for 56 yards. Like, what happened?
He got the receptions, but he didn't get the yards. So
yeah, and again, another prize picks projection I will mention is Jalen Waddle's at 4 receptions this week. He got 13 last week, so I'm not sure where the 4 comes in, but I like the over there if you're catching the drift there. But Will Fuller's interesting, man. I mean, obviously it was his first game back in 9 months, something like that. And he looked good. I mean, he dropped one big touchdown catch that could have put him through the roof. I had him at 1% ownership last week, just praying that he would catch it. Of course he dropped it. That would be my luck. But, if he catches that ball, I'm talking to you this week after winning probably $500. I mean, he was that low owned to where I could have won a ton of money if he caught that ball, but he didn't. So if he comes in at the same type of ownership this year, or this week, I should say, he certainly has the upside to get there. And I think in a week that we're trying to get different, we know Derrick Henry's going to be 40% owned. We know the QBs are pretty, we know who everyone's playing a quarterback this week in terms of the top 5 guys. So I think this is a week to find that guy that's going to make you, put up 30 points and be like, wow, he was at 2% ownership. So this is the week to find the guy like Will Fuller that could pop off.
By the way, tell us that big news about prize picks going on for you.
Oh yeah. So I am now an official affiliate of Prize Picks. I just got myself promo code set up, signed the contract yesterday. So feel free if you want to try it out. It's a great app, great money maker. Use my code DFTS and help each other out. We can get a deposit bonus for you, and you help me out as well. So definitely want to push that app because it is a great app. You can place parlays. You don't even have to hit them all. Last night I hit 4 out of 5 and doubled my money on college football. So they have a ton of options out there. I've been talking about these projections I'm smashing the overs on. And if you watch me on TikTok as well at Fantasy Talk Show, I will have some more prize picks projections over there for tomorrow's slate. But it's a very exciting time for me. Here is now I'm with prize picks and now I'm on TikTok. I mean, man, I feel like I'm just thriving now.
Right. But so Ronell Moore, what do you feel with him? It's a phenomenon, obviously. It's crazy to think that the separation that he's getting, I mean, it's wild. But at 4.6, with Kyler Murray, maybe.
Yeah. Rondale Moore is really interesting. I have Christian Kirk this week over him just because I feel like it's either one or the other. It's never both. So I think they kind of alternate weeks. Like Rondell Moore popped off. It was Christian Kirk the week before. So who's it going to be this week? In terms of pattern, it sounds like it should be Christian Kirk. But
Sure.
it's the NFL. So I think those two guys are definitely interesting. That's going to be another high-paced game. If you find the right guys in that game, you could certainly get a leg up on everybody.
This reminds me that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf 50-50 last year. How it's going with Christian Kirk and Rondell Moore.
Yeah, it's back and forth. Hopkins has not been the same guy this year, so we'll see if he can pick it up.
So one more guy down here in the fours that I wanted to talk about before we go down to the threes is Marquise Calloway, the preseason darling. Obviously, he was good last week. I mean, he got it done. Are people going to play him at 4-3? I might. In the Million Maker, I might. But the possibility's there. What do you think of him?
I can't get behind this Saints offense right now. I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, they put up a crap ton on the Packers, and then the last 2 weeks they did well against the Patriots, but they're just not an explosive offense like we're used to seeing. Jameis, we thought he was going to come out and start throwing for 300 yards and have 5 touchdowns and 5 picks and, just be this, wild play, but he's been coming out and throwing for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's like, who is this Jameis Winston? Like, what is this offense right now? It's a very slow-paced offense, and just for DFS purposes, I just can't back anyone outside of maybe Alvin Kamara. But even still, he's very touchdown-dependent at this point for how their offense is running. So I'm steering clear of all the Saints this week, even though they are going against the Giants.
So going down to the threes, there's a few guys that lie down here. Obviously, if you want to go to Lazard at only 3.6, I know he's primarily a blocking receiver, but the connection has been there for him and Aaron Rodgers. We cannot forget about that. I like that upside. I like Randall Cobb at only 3.3. They want to get him more involved. LaFleur's already said they want to get him play more snaps. KJ Osborne, we saw him in week 1 and 2 get it done. At 3.7, I like it. There's a ton of guys down here. Possibly Chester Rodgers, but who knows what's going to happen with this Titans offense? Nobody knows. If you want to take a flyer on one of the Titans receivers, I would not blame you. I know you don't like Tony, but on the Giants with no Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, somebody's got to catch the ball because Gally's not catching it. I mean, plain and simple, he's not. If you look at his drops, it's wild to me how many drops he has. But the options are there down there. Are you looking at anybody down here on the threes before we move on? Colin Johnson, I know you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think Colin Johnson is probably the best receiver on the Giants right now, and that's wild to say considering Kenny Galladay's on this team.
Yeah,
but we saw flashes from Colin Johnson last year on the Jaguars, and he was, I don't know why they cut him. I think it was something to do with his vaccination status or whatever it was. But last week he came out with no Sterling Shepard and no Darius Slayton, put up 5 catches for like 50 yards. That will pay off this price tag. No problem at all. So I think that honestly could be his floor because he's a guy who can get separation, that can play out of the slot, and Daniel Jones is going to look for that quick throw. He's kind of like a Sterling Shepard fill-in. So if you're looking for a guy with a pretty high floor, I think Colin Johnson's going to be the guy in this range. I think, depending on his ownership, he could be one of the best leverage plays of the day. I know he talked about Lazard a little bit too. I do really like him with no MVS. We watched Lazard make that really nice 42-yard catch on the slot fade that he had, but that was literally the only target he got of the game. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this Packers offense, and I'm saying that, and now I'm stacking them tomorrow, so it's a little scary. But there's 2 sure things in that offense. It's Aaron Rodgers and it's Devontae Adams, and that is where I know I'm going to go to. Lazard definitely can be a piece of that as well. If he gets that 42-yard catch, he's probably going to pay off his price. So, 1 target, 1 catch for 42 yards was enough last week, but I want to see a little more. I think he can certainly get some volume, but I think a lot of it's going to go to Randall Cobb. So I think I'm going to pivot to Randall Cobb over Lazard.
Agreed. Going to tight ends, it's kind of ugly, not going to lie. Travis Kelce at 8-1, obviously. He's basically the number 2 receiver, if you want to look at it. I mean, it's plain and simple. You can count him as a receiver. George Kittle going all the way down to 5'9". There's a huge drop-off, literally from 8-1 to 5'9". That should tell you how this week is going to go for tight end. But George Kittle is 50-50. We've seen multiple reports where he's going to play, then he's not going to play. There's no telling. I mean, T.J. Hawkinson was an awful pick last week. People were burned by him. Mark Andrews.
Yep.
Nobody knows what's happening with Mark Andrews. Kyle Pitts. Again, who knows what's happening with Kyle Pitts? You have Logan Thomas, who's all over the place. I mean, that should tell you how this is going to go. That's literally so far the top 6 tight ends on this slate. So, start me out with tight ends. What are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I think up top it's Kelsey or bust this week.
You have to.
I was huge on T.J. Hawkinson last week, and he just like basically came to my house and beat me up, kind of like that. That was a feeling I had after I played him. I had this awesome lineup, and then it was T.J. Hawkinson, 2 catches for 10 yards, and I was like, why all of a sudden is T.J. Hawkinson not catching the ball? He generally gets like 10 targets a game. So, I'm either going Kelsey or I'm going low. I know we talked about a few guys earlier on before we started the video. I'm personally really on Zack Ertz this week. He seems to finally getting comfortable with Jalen Hurts. They're in a fast-paced game. He's at a low price. He's a red zone target. Now, if Dallas Goedert's the one that catches the touchdown, well, F me. But, Zack Ertz is the one that catches it. Well, I'm going to shoot up the leaderboard. So I would much rather play the lower on Zack Ertz.
So I like Tyler Higbee at 4.6. I mean, the targets are up and down, but again, you can get it done with him. Tonyan is so touchdown dependent that if he does not catch a touchdown, he's not doing it for you. I
hate playing Tonyan, and I don't think I'm going to do it.
But I do like Noah Fant at 4.3. He's been getting it secretly done this season. I mean, people do not realize how good of a threat he has been. I know the receptions aren't there for him, but he's getting it done on the blocking end. Gesicki with Brissett, the targets are there for him also. We saw him in the late fourth quarter come alive out of nowhere, literally. So at 4,000, I like that. Dawson Knox, red zone threat, I like that at 3.6. So for me, I'm either paying for one of those guys or I'm paying out for Travis Kelce if I have the salary. But looking at receivers and running backs, I'm probably not going to have the salary. So much that I pay down for, like I said, Dawson Knox with my Josh Allen stack, or going to my Noah Fant with Teddy B, or Gesicki as a run back option in that Indiana game with Michael Pittman. So the options are there. Zack Ertz, I do like him. I boosted him up last week in the showdown slate. Everybody was not on him at 2-2, which I still not. I can't believe he was still priced that low at 2-2 on the showdown slate. But before we talk about that, do you like Dalton Schultz or Blake Jarwin? Are you liking the Cowboys tight ends or no?
Yeah, the Cowboys tight ends are just hard because they're so 50-50. It seems like Dalton Schultz is more the receiving tight end for the first 3 weeks here. I mean, we see Blake Jarwin get a couple catches, but it's mostly been Dalton Schultz. So if I was going to take one of them, it would certainly be Schultz. He had a great game last week. He caught the touchdown, paid off his price. So I don't mind him, but I would probably personally go to Ertz just because I know Ertz is going to play 60% of the snaps. Dalton Schultz probably going to play around the same. But a lot of them he's going to be blocking in as well. So, Zack Ertz is mostly going out for a pass every time he's on the field.
So, looking at the lower tight ends, no Gerald Everett. So, Will Disley is in play to me. I like that.
Yep.
Evan Ingram at only 3,000. We smashed the
Oh, I
receptions.
totally forgot about Evan Ingram.
Yeah, we smashed the receptions on him. But also, let's talk about one more guy with Ryan Tannehill. Anthony Firkser's back. So, that's another target. For only 3-1, people are going to flock to Evan Ingram with nobody on the team basically to catch the ball. So if I want to pay up $100 more for Anthony Firkser, we saw the upside that he brings to the table. So, and the connection's there for Ryan Tannehill. It's not like he's a new target all of a sudden, like Westbrook and like the other guys on this team. So the connection could be there for Anthony Firkser. Are you liking him or are you fading him overall?
Yeah, Firkser's interesting. I think he's going to be pretty touchdown dependent, though. I think the Titans are going to focus very much on running the ball and play action. So if Firkser gets into the flats a couple times or hits a corner route, he could pay off pretty well. But I just think his upside is limited unless he scores a touchdown.
Agreed. But like I said, the target's going to be there for him. Are you liking anybody else down here? I think, like I said, Will Disley at only 2.6. I think it's there. I think with no Everett.
Disley's a good option. He did have that big 40-yard catch last week, which was nice to see. And that was with Gerald Everett on the team too. So it'll be interesting to see where Russell goes this week. He's been mostly focusing on one wide receivers out wide. So we'll see what he does here. But going against the 49ers, I think Will Disley is going to get plenty of reps because they're going to need a tight end to help block Nick Bosa. They're going to need a tight end on the field. So the more times he's on the field, the more likely he is to catch a pass. So I certainly do like Disley as well.
I feel you. So going to defenses now. This is, again, an ugly defensive slate. So Bills against David Mills. I like it. 4-3. Titans against Zach Wilson. Obviously, Zach Wilson has not been able to get done. It's wild. Saints, maybe. Bears, maybe. Are you liking any of these defenses or no?
I mean, outside of maybe the Bills, no. I'm pretty much just going to dive low and save salary and just pray that the Lions don't give up like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns to David Montgomery. Like we talked about the Bears offensive line a ton in this video. I just think the Lions have the ability. Jamie Collins can get to the quarterback. They're 2,200. They're terrible against the run, I know. But if they can get a couple sacks and hold the Bears to like 10 points, I'm super happy with that. So I'm going to play a flyer in the Lions defense this week. And I think they're going to be pretty popular too, which is scary.
So, like I said, the Bills, I think, is your main option against David Mills and that David Johnson role. Looking at possibly anybody else, I can see the path to victory for the Bears against the Lions. I don't mind it, but it's kind of scary. The Dolphins is a flyer if you're not playing Michael Pittman. And with Jonathan Taylor possibly hurt, I like that with Dolphins. Anybody else, though, I'm not really looking at. If you trust the Giants defense against New Orleans Saints, because we know how up and down Jameis Winston is with the interceptions, I get it. That could happen. Or if you want to take a flyer on the Colts with Jacoby Brissett starting center. But it's kind of ugly, this slate. But do you have any last closing thoughts before we had it here, my man?
Well, it's going to be ugly this week, fellas, but we're going to win money. That's the name of the game. Big thing I will say is a lot of these 4 o'clock games, I'm personally going heavy in. So early on in the day, don't freak out if you're not winning money. 4 o'clock games, you will catch up very fast, especially in the second half. So don't panic and, add a bunch of second half entries in just because you feel like you're chasing. You will catch up if you're playing a lot of those 4 o'clock. And if you're at the 1 o'clock and you're winning a lot of money, don't count on it because the slate changes fast. So that's the biggest thing I've learned playing DFS in the last couple weeks here is just remember the 4 o'clock games could blow up. The Rams and the Cardinals is going to be a high-paced game. The Steelers and Packers game is going to be very interesting as well. So we'll see how it goes, but stay patient and we'll win money.
Agreed. So the link will be in the description below for the Discord and stuff like that. I'll add your PrizePicks link in the description below, so definitely go check that out. But that's pretty much this slate. That's week 4. It's going to be interesting to me. It's going to be interesting to see how these low-end targets are going to go with possibly the Titans with Derrick Henry, or we'll see maybe Aaron Rodgers bounce back. But it's going to be a good slate. I think week 4 is definitely going to be interesting for us. But that's pretty much the video for us. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their day. Have a good one, everybody.